Welcome to a short presentation on how the functionality of asset is implemented in ERP Next. So in this presentation, we will be looking at mainly three categories of information regarding the asset. The first is we will look into the doc type, which are used to create and maintain asset in any organization, such as the doc type of item, where we categorize the item as fixed asset. Then we have the asset category, where we group certain functionality and attributes of the asset. Then the final asset that is created based on a specific item. We'll be also looking at the depreciation of the item in good detail, such as the depreciation method and other details that are configured while the asset is created, the depreciation schedule and automatic accounting entries updated periodically in the system, and the related purchase receipt and purchase invoice, how they are um, interlinked with the asset creation and maintenance. Basically, to highlight the flexibility of ERP Next with respect to uh, related feature addition using custom script, we also take up an example of two simple functionalities that can be implemented around depreciation. So overall, let's have a deep dive into the functionality of asset and how it is implemented in ERP Next. So basically, when we are creating an item in the item master, and we know that it is a fixed asset, we need to basically configure a couple of check boxes. One, to identify the asset as a fixed asset, the item as a fixed asset. And we can also enable a checkbox to automatically create an asset on creation of a purchase receipt in the system. And once we categorize an item as a fixed asset, we also associate an asset category, and we also specify an asset naming convention. That is the naming series. The next important document is the asset category. In the asset category, basically, we mention the depreciation method, the frequency of depreciation, whether it is once a month or once in 2 months, and total number of the depreciation that will, or rather the timeline of the depreciation, whether it is 1 year, 2 year, etc. Apart from that, the starting of the depreciation posting date and the residual value of the item after the depreciation is completed can also be specified in the asset category. The other important set of information that we can configure in the asset category is the different account heads, such as the fixed asset account, the accumulated depreciation account, and the depreciation expense account. All can be configured at the level of the asset category. Then to create and maintain an asset and the related depreciation, we do all the configuration within the asset doc type. So basically in the asset doc type, first we associate the item, the asset category, and the location. Then we have a set of information that we can configure to pull in the purchase detail related information, such as the purchase receipt, the purchase invoice. So from that, the gross amount and the purchase date is derived. And once an item is purchased, we can also specify the available date. So this is the date from which the depreciation starts getting accounted in the system. Once we create and provide these details in the asset creation, the system automatically, based on the configuration of the depreciation details, such as the depreciation method and the frequency, etc., create a schedule table when all the depreciation will be triggered in the system. So we have two options here where we can either manually pass the journal entry, or the system through a cron job, it schedules job automatically to complete the journal entry passing of the type depreciation on the date as per the schedule table. So overall, these are the key doc type that are used in creation and maintenance of the asset, including the depreciation detail. So let us look at a custom script. So there might be differing practices at different organizations. Say, assume a particular organization have a requirement that from a process point of view, they will only pass depreciation entry on asset on the last day of the month. And we also, and this particular organization also has a approach of categorizing a different asset, and in each of the asset category they want to specify the residual value after the depreciation in terms of the percentage of the purchased amount. So we are going to look at the flexibility offered by ERP Next with respect to implementing these functionality. ERP Next has uh, custom script functionality where JavaScripts can be written and associated with doc type, and they can also be associated with various events of the doc type, such as a refresh of the screen, or say at the time of saving the doc type, or at the time of submitting the doc type. So overall, in this, we are in this custom script, we are basically going to look at the asset category depreciation value. We are going to get that value from a different doc type. Then we are going to use the Moment API to calculate the last date of the month. And we'll be setting fields in the asset doc type. And we'll also, based on the two configuration, we'll also look at what are the changes in the depreciation schedule that are generated. So this is a snapshot of a custom script. So the key points that I would like to are highlighted. So basically, in the refresh of the form, uh, that is the asset form, basically we create a button which is associated with the table, and we can click on that button to trigger the functionality. So basically, once the script is triggered, it basically checks which are all the rows of that particular table that are selected. Then it fetches some information from other doc type asset category. And so we can do it by a function provided by FrappyDB, get doc. Then based on the information that we get from the asset category, we set some values in the asset doc type. Then we go ahead to calculate the last date of the month using the Moment APIs. We update these values, and then we refresh the fields and the table so that the form is refreshed automatically for the user to see these information. So this is a overall functional overview and the implementation detail that we'll be doing through the custom script. So let's go ahead and look at a demo of whatever we explained in terms of the doc type and also the custom script. So let's look at the details. So this is an ERP Next item screen. So we have already created a item, the printer for the office. So in this item, we have basically selected that the item is a fixed asset. And we also have selected the checkbox where the auto creation of the asset will happen on the creation of the purchase receipt. We have associated the office equipment, which is an asset category, and given a naming series. So let's go ahead and look at what are the details that we have provided in the asset category office equipment. Here we have given 10% as the value of the depreciation in percentage compared to the purchase value. So we have the capability in ERP Next to associate a finance book. And basically in the finance book, what we do is that we choose a depreciation method, whether it is straight line or written down value. And in that, we have the total number of times the depreciation entries will be passed, and we can select the frequency, and we can also select the start date of the depreciation. And we can also associate different account heads. What is the account head for fixed asset? What is an account head for accumulated depreciation? And what is the depreciation expense account head? So these are the item that these are the details that can be associated with a specific category of an asset. Now going to the asset creation, basically uh, uh, in the asset we select a particular item, and then for which we have to create a purchase receipt so that the item is recorded as purchased. And as we have configured on purchase receipt, the item is automatically created. So these are the detail of the item asset category associated while creation of an asset. Then we have the purchase detail associated. The key points are the purchase receipt from which the asset is created, the purchase detail. And so this is the finance table, which book, which is being pulled directly from the asset category. And this is the scheduled depreciation table automatically calculated on asset creation. So here we can see, since we have mentioned 10% as the residual value. So on a purchase of 5,000, we still see after depreciation a value of 4,500, which is there. So let's look at, we'll had a look at the custom script, which is created to achieve couple of additional functionalities with respect to the residual value setting and also the startup depreciation. So this is the um, overview of the custom script where we create the button and then we fetch the selected tables, selected rows in the table. Then we fetch details from the asset category, and then we set the values in the table, expected value after useful life, and also the depreciation start date we use the Moment API. mm, to achieve this. Then we go ahead and set the uh, refresh the field so that the user can see the changed value. So these are the overall functionalities that are accomplished through the custom scripts. Mm. So let's look at other key aspect of the system with respect to the asset creation. So the first aspect is that the ERP Next provides automatically generates a schedule table, and when the date is reached, we have a manual option to trigger the journal entry from each and every row of the depreciation schedule table. And we also have another feature in ERP Next where in the account settings, we can select auto creation of these depreciation entry. Um, that is, asset book depreciation entries are automatically created. So if you have in the schedule table that depreciation is happening on the last day of the month, on the last day of the month, the journal entry for the depreciation is automatically created. And we saw about how on purchase receipt um, the asset is created. So we can also see that an entry is made in the asset account head on creation of the purchase invoice. So this is overall the implementation of the asset functionality in ERP Next. Hope this gives a quick overview of how assets are created and maintained in the ERP Next. And hope this is quite useful. And do let us know of any implementation with respect to asset in your organization. Thank you.